Hi, it's Wendy Dickinson with Ascend to Sell.
Hi, it's Jay Cowan, Business Owner Exit Strategies.
We're here at Coal Mine Coffee and at 117 Browns Way Road, and both of us are enjoying this delicious with actual whipped cream ice mochas.
This is before, and that's the after.
Very true. So today we're talking about hiring to retain. Subtitle, What's Love Got to Do with It? So you notice there's a theme here. Talked a few weeks ago about family succession and choosing the right kid for the job. I also have to say, though, it's really important in any kind of a transition, if your business is facing a transition, to be able to navigate that with all of your key players in place.
Yes, because, oftentimes, your business is only as good as the people that work for you. And if you're not going to be there anymore at some point in time, that business is, somebody's got to be there that can be dependable. And depending on the type of sale this is going to entail, oftentimes they want to, the questions are, who's going to stay when you're not here anymore?
And in case you are in a startup mode, or let's say your business is in its adolescence as opposed to its maturity, this is still a relevant topic for you. I mean, you want the best possible people that you can get to fill the key positions in your company. And it's not always easy in a job market with such low unemployment to keep the people that you want to depend and rely on.
No, and I don't know if I've even heard of, it's not uncommon now for people to have to pay bonuses now for new people.
Yes, actually that's true. I believe that HVAC techs and plumbing apprentices are now getting signing bonuses from HVAC companies.
I wish it could have been more mechanical.
Yeah, well, so as I mentioned, we're in an 18-year low as far as unemployment is concerned. Did you know that?
I heard something like that when I'm paying attention. Just kidding. Yes, and it's amazing. My expectations once the economy started coming back was that, okay, all these people are going to come back to work now. The jobs are opening up and they're going to be back to work. In actuality, it doesn't happen because people who've been on the sidelines for 3 or 4 years aren't coming back to work.
Well, and I also think that they're not exactly able to command the salary or the pay that they received prior to the recession.
They become less marketable, and however that's defined. And so you're talking about a finite group of people, and so the ones who are the hottest employee out there, the ones already working for someone else.
Yeah. So, and I mean, if there's 6.7 million job openings, you better believe that you need to offer your prospects an environment that allows them to excel and to succeed, and also to continue to grow and develop.
And you have to have a process in place because it's not likely that all your people are going to stay with you for so long because they've always been with you and you're so great to them. You're going to lose people for one reason or another, and it's not going to just happen once or twice. And it's a very time-consuming. And I mean, hiring employees for me was, what I learned about hiring employees was I suck at it.
Well, I think a lot of us don't really have a system and a process, as you pointed out, and so there's a science to it. I think I want to point out one more thing, that if any of you are getting ready to check out because you have hourly employees and maybe you only pay them like minimum wage, $10 an hour, I think it's interesting to note that even a $10 an hour employee, it costs $3,300 to replace that person every single time.
That's an amazing statistic right there.
Yes, it is. So even though it's kind of messy to develop relationships and to create community within your workplace, it is worth it. It's truly worth it financially, emotionally, and I think as far as your human capital or your social capital in your communities.
Well, and honestly, we can't necessarily delegate this just to anybody. And if you are going to make yourself the one who does everything depending on your business because you want it done right, that's not necessarily going to be
No.
most effective use of your time either, as important as it is. So that's why you got to come up with a game plan and a method. And if it means bringing on some outside help to help you when those times come up, I think that's a great idea, because, you know, they have the core competencies that we don't necessarily have.
Great point. And you mentioned earlier that you recognize it's not one of your strengths. I mean, there are fractional HR consultants now
Absolutely.
who offer these services.
Yes, and there are a lot of them out there doing a lot of different things. And so I think there is help out there for you for this, but don't shy away from it. It's a necessary part of business, really.
You know, another interesting thing, I think, with the changes in the tax law, there was some talk for a while, and I heard another discussion on it this morning, that some people were looking at moving away from hiring full-time employees and instead going with 1099 contract workers. And I want you to be careful about that, because from what I understand, the state governments, but also the IRS, have pretty stringent standards by which they determine who's considered a full-time employee versus a contractor. So you may be paying that person as a 1099 contract employee, but if you don't meet the criteria for that, you can still end up being liable for the taxes.
Yeah, and I'm certainly not an expert in this, but I've just, all anecdotally, I've heard a lot of horror stories from people who thought they were just being smart about their business, and, you know, the cost of not just having them on payroll, but, you know, benefits and everything else, and they really, unfortunately, have paid the price. And so it's really tough to know how to navigate through this, and it's frankly just not worth it.
Yeah, and if you are somebody who's considering becoming a contract worker, I think what you should know is that, at least here in the state of Virginia, you are responsible for both sides. So you would be responsible for the 7.3% or 7.6% as an employer, and the 7.6% as an employee of tax responsibilities.
All I can tell you is, if you've got a so-called 1099 working at a desk you provide for at your place, they're not 1099 employees.
Exactly. So be careful about that.
Yeah.
For sure. So let's go back to, you know, some of the motivations or some of the reasons that employees might want to stay. And again, remember, our topic today is hiring to retain. So what we want you to think about are what are the conditions that you can create to encourage your folks to stay with you?
Well, you know, I think it always goes back to communication and all aspects of it. You know, that's sort of a recurring thing for us. When people feel that they're being valued and you're communicating it in a way that makes them feel they're important in the process, in your business, regardless of their level. I'm not saying, well, I won't go there, but
okay.
But you know me, I tend to get in trouble. So, but I would just say that money, yeah, I mean, money is important, but ultimately, money is not the sole deciding factor. And I've heard that so many times, and having my own employees in the past, I've found that to be the case too. You know, when they go, you know what, Jack, I can make more money somewhere else, but the fact you give me all this flexibility, and you know, when I have a problem with one of my kids at home, you don't have a heartache with giving me the time to take her to the doctor or whatever. It does mean a lot to people, and flexibility is becoming really, really important. So knowing your employees and knowing what's important to them, you don't necessarily have to try to be everything to all people, but again, fit in your core value system of what you think is important. And as long as they just feel like somebody really cares about whether happens to them.
Yeah.
I wish I put it in a better way.
Well, in general, so we in the show notes, you'll see that there's a study cited, but there's a very weak correlation between salary and job satisfaction. So just because you're paying somebody a lot and you've got crappy working conditions, I mean, people are not going to put up with that junk.
Yeah, it just means that you might be paying them just enough for them to put up with it to reach the point where the conditions are, you can't pay me enough, sorry, and then we're done.
Yeah, or you're paying them just enough to carry them over until they find something they really like and want.
Right up. That's right.
Yeah, so what we want to suggest to you is that, yeah, sure, look at compensation, but look at other aspects of the working conditions as well. And then also, I thought it was so interesting it really is important how much time and attention you give to onboarding new people. I mean, people have got to feel comfortable when they come on.
They don't, what they don't want to have is they get hired to do a certain type of job or position, and then it's like, okay, welcome, here's your desk, there's the computer, there's the restroom, we'll just start bringing you to work. I mean,
and that's such a small part of it. I mean, they want to know the acronyms, they want to know the lingo, they want to know the stories, right?
That's right.
What the funny things are that everybody happened, and what they can look forward to as being part of the team.
And they have other people they're going to be working with, and they need to feel like they're truly being integrated with the other employees and integrated with the culture, and what are good, practices in terms of this job and what's expected. And again, if you're not providing them with even as something as simple as I don't want to say necessarily just a handbook, that's not going to necessarily serve that, but what their job is really going to be, and what the expectation is, and how are you going to recognize, what their performance is, because they want to know what those are. If it's nebulous, they don't know what it's going to take to advance in this company, then it's not going to start out very well.
Are you a Brene Brown reader?
No, I'm not. Sorry.
So, no, that's all right. I do recommend that, in all your free time, that you do that, because she has some great books out. One of her sayings that I love is, when she and one of her team members are having a discussion about expectations, about who's going to do what and all that sort of thing, she says to the person, or they say to each other now, paint it out. Tell me, in other words, show me in words, however you can, what this is going to look like when it's been done, and it's done well, and my part is finished. And so, that to me really
good thought.
is a great metaphor.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes total sense. I want what you tell me, paint that picture for what you expect for me to deliver, in what form that accomplishes what it is you need from me.
Yeah.
And, if we got the rules, if we know, it's like getting a brand new game that you're playing, Monopoly or whatever it is, you have the rules, you have the pieces, you know who the players are, what it's going to take to win the game, to advance.
Yeah.
The same thing really applies to our business, because if we're given a game and nobody's really giving us all we need to know, we're not going to enjoy the game very well. We're not going to know what's going on, and we're going to stop wanting to play.
Yeah, and our chances of succeeding are pretty low.
Yes.
I think are at least handicapped by not playing, or not being familiar with how to play. So the other thing I think is pretty common is, you don't leave a bad job, you leave a bad manager. And you can make the argument that really what we don't want necessarily are managers. We want people who know how to delegate, who know how to coach, who know how to bring out the best in the people around them.
Yes.
But I think it's a good point. If you have somebody who's lousy at all of those things, we do see a lot of people who get promoted because of their skill set, and not necessarily because they know how to bring out the best in others.
Yes. And people want to know who they're reporting to. Okay, you're the big boss, but generally there's somebody between them and you. And who is that person, and what are their expectations, and how are they good? And one thing that I'll throw in that may or not be part of this conversation, but to me it's significant, and that is, you need to be really aware of anybody in your organization who is a bully.
Oh my gosh, that is such a great point.
Bully in the workplace, and I don't mean taking them outside and beating them up, but bullying in the workplace is a significant problem, and it's occurring everywhere. You may have remembered reading not too long ago about the state agency in Virginia that had a contractor came in to do some work and was getting bullied by, and I mean true verbal assaults on a regular basis by this person who would be acting a supervisory role. And he also had done it with his other employees. And she ended up leaving and raised a big stink, and there was a big investigation. And this had been going on for years.
So I'm gonna change your language a little bit.
Feel free.
Because I do
Wouldn't be the first
feel
time.
as though this is a really important issue that you brought up. And I think instead of saying raising a big stink, to really shine a light on things that needed to be changed.
Well, the issue really became as I say, a big stink bomb because of people who should have known
Mm-hmm.
were silent about what was going on or pretended not to know.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, shining the light on it, and that was definitely needed to be done. And it can happen at any level. It could happen
Mm-hmm.
with a peer.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
be somebody who's underneath you who wants to get ahead, so they'll try to undercut you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to, you just can't pick those people out by looking at them.
Well, and Gallup found that 70% of the variance in employee engagement and productivity is directly due to the people around that person.
Mm-hmm.
So if if someone doesn't feel included, if somebody doesn't feel welcome, if somebody doesn't feel safe, they're not going to be able to perform, and they're not going to be able to really bring out or create their best work.
And women could be bullies just like men.
Oh, it's
doubt.
not gender specific.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
right.
Yeah.
I should have said it that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've seen this and seen this myself in the workplace, and that can affect untold number of people in your organization.
And it has a domino effect.
Absolutely.
I will also tell you that there's such a thing as mood contagion. And so if you have people who are afraid to be as part of the team, if you have people who are afraid to speak up, who don't feel included and welcome,
Mm-hmm.
then that is going to affect the mood of and the energy of the entire organization.
And, you know, even if you try to, sometimes if you have a follow-up procedure where you've contacted people who have left, you want to find out what was really going on. You know, that's helpful, but frankly, I don't know how successful that is. You got to be able to reach out to these people, and they don't necessarily want to burn bridges, but at the same time, there are ways and things, and maybe that's for future conversation. What to look for? What are the?
That's a good idea.
You know, what do these people look like, sound like, act like, that would be in that situation? I believe we have a lot more of that than most of it going on than many of us know.
Let us know if you'd be interested in that topic, because I think that would be very worthwhile.
Yes.
I guess the other thing that I'd like to bring up is Daniel Pink's work, and I think the book on this is called Drive. But he talks about, you know, how when we get our basic needs met, and then we get enough salary to be able to create a certain amount of comfort for ourselves. Beyond that, it's all about mastery, autonomy, and purpose. So part of the reason of creating community is so that you and those around you can create relationships that are actually ecosystems for this autonomy, mastery, and purpose. And it's not about being in one another's business. It's about bringing out the best in one another, challenging each other. And it's not about standing around hugging, singing Kumbaya. It's about challenging each other respectfully, not as a bully, but as a person who really wants to see the team and the group produce the best possible work that they can.
You know, last week was my birthday.
I know.
Did I tell you how I spent my birthday last week?
No, you did not, because it was the day before.
Yes,
so.
Last Friday was my birthday, and it was also the day that my renewal of my driver's license was due.
Oh.
So I kind of waited till the last minute, and having had a license, don't ever let your driver's license expire, because if you do, then when you come in, even if it's expired the day before, which has happened to me, that they want you to be able to provide them. The state wants you to, hey, let me see some ID. Oh, we can't use your driver's license. It just expired.
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that didn't happen to me. So I was in DMV for almost 3 hours. And there were all kinds of people there. Yes, thank you. What a great way to spend it. So there's all kinds of frustrated people. I was getting frustrated. But I have to say that everybody that worked there were extremely polite and professional and patient and didn't get ruffled. And again, having gone to DMV for many years now, I would say that's the one positive thing that happened, that they didn't treat me like I was nothing. So they're doing a good job. Somebody's doing some good job with how they onboard and train their people at DMV, at least the one I was at, for the public. And you really start feeling more like you are a customer which I used to laugh at when they would say it, of course. Sorry about that, you state people. But it really was well demonstrated that they're doing something over there. They've changed the way they used to do business. Anyway, just a little side note.
Yeah, well, it does make a difference. It makes a difference in your experience. And I have to say that's one of the reasons why we so enjoy coming here to Coal Mine Coffee, because not only is the owner, Tricia, extraordinarily welcoming, but so are the people who work here.
And yeah, and it's just like the experience. She wants to have people that she retains as customers. She wants to have a relationship. So she's learned to do certain things to get people to come back. So your question I would have for you out there is, what are you doing to, when you bring employees in, are you trying to make this an experience where you're going to retain them for a long period of time? Or are you just looking at them as, you know, okay, well, we just need somebody, put them here and here. We really don't care. And I have met people like that, that they do exist. But even when you don't mean to do it that way, that sometimes could be the experience. So think of it in terms of, you know, these are my employees, but they're also my customers as well. And how would I treat a customer doing this work for me versus somebody who depends on me for their paycheck? And it's a real paradigm shift when you start thinking in those terms.
It is.
And so we have to think in terms of the retention. And regardless of your business, I find that if you depend on sales for your revenue, everybody sells, whether they know it or not, because everybody is some way or shape is going to be interfacing with somebody in the public, and that they're representing you. So again, I guess this may be truly obvious.
Well, no, because not everybody does it. But let's use that as a bridge to our recommendations. So one of the things we're recommending is that you take the time to develop a relationship, not only with the people who are working for you, but the people who are your peers and those who are working alongside you in whatever capacity.
And you said this earlier, creating a community of people. Don't be afraid to tell them, you know, kind of show the warts and all, tell them the stories, you know, and tell them about, hey, the successes, tell them about the failures.
Yes.
You know, the mistakes you've made. I've found that kind of goes back to another word that we like to bring up a lot of times. It's called being authentic.
Yes.
And people like to see people that are actually being real with them and talking about things that haven't gone so well and things that have gone right. I think that has an amazing effect on people.
Yeah, it's nice to know that not everybody poops sprinkles and rainbows, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
What imagery.
And lastly, onboard your people. Really be intentional about that. Teach them the what, the why, the who, and the where, and the when.
And familiarize the people who are already working for you that you have a process.
Yeah.
We can't forget them, because we don't want to have the mindset of, wow, you're being so wonderful with that new employee, and I've been here for a while. What about me?
Yes.
I'm not feeling the love.
Right. Right.
They may not tell you that, but that's exactly what's going on.
So, any closing remarks?
Closing remarks? No, I'd say it's anytime you're dealing with people, and the onboarding process is not glamorous, it's not sexy, it's not something that we think of as, well, how's it really helping me grow my business, or the bottom line? But it's these kinds of things that can help you leverage your time and leverage the strength in your organization. If you've got a positive experience in a way that people know when they come in, they're not walking around a week later still wondering, okay, where do I go for help on this? Who helps me with the copy machine? Who helps me with how to deal with this customer problem? Everybody's so busy. You know, it does make a difference, and I think it'll help. It truly does help, and it's worth getting investing some time, and certainly is worth getting outside help when you need it, because there are people who already know these processes and systems that can shortcut this for you.
Yeah. So we thank you for being with us today. And again, just want to encourage you to take the time to get to know your people and to make them feel welcome. So next week, we are going to talk about let's see, what is our topic for next week? Give me just a moment. We are going to be talking
Navigating
about
DMV?
ups and downs of employee ownership and investiture.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there are some ups and downs.
Yeah. So go ahead and develop relationships with your people. And then we can talk about next week, if they're with you for a while and you have a comfort level, what opportunities there might be in transitioning out of your business using another kind of option than buying or selling.
I like that.
Yeah. So hope to see you then. Thanks. It's Wendy Dickinson with Ascend to Sell.
And Jay Cowan, Business Center Exit Strategies. And remember, it is a great day to be alive.
Thanks. See you next time. Bye.